Hi, I'm Phil, and welcome to Rovensden. Today I'm going to be bringing you a review and a comparison between an original pressing of Mulligan Meets Monk and the recent Record Store Day version here that's in mono. Now, my original version is in stereo, and this version here that came out is in mono. But before we get started with that, I will talk a little bit about the record. Here it is here, that original, not original pressing, I'm sorry, that early pressing. This is a 1961 European pressing, made in Holland, it says on the label. The label of the record here, I'll show you what it looks like, and you can see here the it looks a little different than the original would have, and we'll talk more about that. But this was recorded in 1957 over two dates of August 12th and 13th. And it was the first time that Mulligan and Monk were getting together. In fact, Riverside, the label, requested that they do this, and originally intended for them on that first date in New York to work with the quartet that they have to record just kind of a track or two. In fact, that was Wilbur Ware on the bass and Shadow Wilson on the drums. And Mulligan wasn't familiar with particularly Wilbur Ware at all, the bassist. And the session went so well that the liner notes here on the back, Mulligan and Monk pressed Riverside and said, we don't want to change it up, because they intended to do an all-star cast, so to speak, introduce others without mentioning who those others were. And thankfully, they stuck to the four. However, on this early pressing, you'll see that I felt it was more of a showcase between Mulligan and Monk than it was a quartet. But I'll get into that more in a moment. As I said, that's a stereo pressing, and the Record Store Day version is a mono. So I guess it's not fair to do a true side-by-side comparison. I'm almost positive that Craft will put this out at some point, as they have with most of their other Record Store Day versions, in a stereo cut sometime soon. But I've picked up most of the mono versions. Everybody digs Bill Evans, and I do not have the drum Max Roach. I do not have that one. I'd probably be good to get that, I would imagine. But yeah, so, and you'll see here the back of this. Now, something about this that I really appreciated was that you'll notice the up here where the logo of the hype sticker is, there's no picture. That's because the very original first press had no picture, and then later they introduced this picture on the very second pressing and those following, for the most part. So that was nice. Also, as I already showed you the label on that early press, they went back to the original label for this Craft version here. And you can see there, it's back to the original label there. Now, my early version is a very, very clean copy. Only one or two pops or clicks or ticks throughout my playing of it. So that part I was able to really gauge quite well. I'll start with the early press and the cut of track one that I noticed right away that the piano, number one being in stereo, the piano is a very hard left. That would be Monk. And the baritone sax, which is Mulligan, was on the far right. Now, unfortunately, the middle was where the bass and the drums resided, but very faintly, very hard. In fact, I would like to call this album the And Justice for All cut. And I would call this cut the Newstead cut. And we'll get more into that in a moment. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. I've really enjoyed getting views on the Rolling Stones video and some of the others, and it helps my channel, as you know, to grow and get more subscribers, and eventually allow me to be able to turn this into something where I can bring more reviews, especially those high audiophile pressings that I would like to. But back to this, the bass is really hard to make out. The drums are hard to make out. In fact, I almost didn't think there even was a bass. I had to do a double take and check that Wilbur Ware was on that track. But it confirmed on the second track when the drums are center and they're like kind of mixed in with the bass. So not a lot of clarity there, not a lot of definition, even though it's a stereo press with the piano and the sax being very clear where those were. Um, the cymbals too, amazingly, seem to go right a little bit, whereas when you hear the snare or whatnot, more in the center. So I don't know. Clearly, that second track, the baritone, is the star of that, and yeah. On that third track, the piano is on the left. I mean, it's the same for all of them. The sax is on the right. There's an exception I'll get to later. The bass is really hard to hear. It's recessed. One thing I did appreciate about this early press, and I keep pulling this up, give myself carpal tunnel here. The thing that I really enjoyed about this is that you can hear the call-outs or the shout-outs. When I'm guessing it's Mulligan is directing the guys what to do, or what's coming up or what changes to make, you can hear it. Very faint, but you can hear it. You can make it out. In fact, I thought it was my kids in the other room yelling, and I was, what? And I hit pause. What's going on? Nothing, Dad. And I was, oh. So, which I didn't get on the record store day version, which isn't a problem. Just pointing that out. Now, the record store day cut. The moment this hits that turntable and that needle hits that, wow. There's bass. There's bass. And it's so clear. And you can hear I'm not exaggerating. You can hear the fingers on the strings of the bass. And you can hear the sticks on the drums. I don't know if it's a snare drum or toms. I don't know too much about drums, but wow. It is fascinating. It's so revelatory. It is an amazing, magical experience, this record store day version. I'm in love. The thing I liked about the original is that, the early press and the stereo, is that you distinctly could hear, to the right and the left, the piano and the sax. However, when they are soloing and there's solos going on, it is really hard for me on first and second listen to comprehend if it's a solo or not. I only knew because I listened to this. The way Kevin Gray just pulls that forward, and when it's almost like you're really there. I never understood when I hear other reviews and other YouTubers and VCers talk about it's like they're in the room with you. Until I heard this, I'm telling you, it was like they were in the room with you. It's revelatory to be able to experience something that so many others have experienced with other albums and stuff, and be able to say, I'm now one of you. I can compare. It's like when you have the band there, and then it's let's say it's Mulligan's time. He takes the step forward and does his solo, and then he steps back, and Monk with his Tommy Lee drum set goes forward and does the spin around and stuff like that. It's just, and then the bass twirls around like Linus or something, and I mean, it's fascinating. I just really, really appreciated what he did with this album. It is fantastic. The things that Kevin Gray and Craft is, directives that they gave. It really is. The second track on that record store day version, man, the drums. Wow, if you're a fan of drums, you are going to love that track. There is such pizzazz, and it melds and meshes with the other instruments in a way that's just hypnotically mesmerizing. The drums are just, you appreciate the skill set that Shadow Wilson, I love that name. Man, I'm going to name my next kid that, Shadow. Even if it's a girl. Your name is Shadow. That was fantastic, though. And then with that third track, you get more of an aspect of the soloing of each player. They really shine. It's apparent that there was a crafting of the song, that these are four professionals working together. It's no wonder that they went to Riverside and said, don't add any more. We don't need more. This is the all-star group, this quartet. This version of that record proves that they had magic going on those 2 days in that studio in New York. And again, man, that third track, the drums, I had to go back and forth between this and that early pressing. I thought maybe one listen to this early pressing and then one listen of the Craft would be enough. I was going back and forth many times because it was like when I put this on, it was a new album. It'd been remixed. In fact, on side two, when I got down to, was it song number 2? I think Yes, when song number 2 started on this, which is Straight No Chaser, it felt like that had been remixed because I heard a solo from the bass. It was clear, it was present, it was centered, and it was front. And it was awesome to hear. No piano, no other instruments there, just the bass. And I thought, did that not happen on the other cut? So I went back and I listened to the earlier cut, and then I noticed it is there, but it's hardly noticeable. It is so soft, so recessed, and so mixed in with the drums that when the drums die out, I really wasn't paying attention. I was droned out. So I have to say, this really felt like a new experience, even though I just heard 3 times that other version, going back and forth until it dawned on me. It's done so pristine and so well and so clear that it really felt like it was new, even though it wasn't. The old is new again. Um, it was fantastic. And then the piano solo that accompanied was loud and clear. And if you hear something going on in the other room, I apologize. But man, and then that last track, the equal balance, all solos. That was the other thing. This, did I mention? I can't remember. This here sounded like the piano and the sax were mixed at the same level all the time, even during solos. So it kind of made it hard. Is that a solo? Is that not a solo? The drum and the bass was so recessed and so soft that I didn't even know that they were there many times, especially when all 4 instruments were playing. On this one, no contest. The moment there's a solo, it's forward. The others are back. Then shifting like clockwork. The 3 dimensions on a mono record were amazing. It was so good. I hate to sing the praises, sing the praises, I should say, but it's worth it. It really is. In fact, the video I'm working on that was going to go right here, I had to postpone because this was so good. I just wanted to let anybody know that might be interested. Yeah. Once again, please subscribe. Please, like this if you enjoyed what you saw. I hope nothing else that, as I said many times, that this proves to you that I felt something magical here. And I love doing this because it helps me understand that the new pressings can improve. I haven't had as positive an experience with others, but this one truly helped me understand that as much as I loved that early pressing, this is the version that proved to me that there is always magic in the grooves. I'll see you next time.